Inside the billionaire life of Creflo Dollar. Imagine a preacher commanding a $65 million jet, cruising in a Rolls-Royce, and residing in a mansion that rivals those of Hollywood celebrities. This is the life of Creflo Dollar, a man whose teachings on prosperity have manifested into a reality that exceeds even the wildest dreams. But how does a pastor from College Park, Georgia, ascend to such heights of luxury? Stay tuned as we uncover the most jaw-dropping aspects of Creflo Dollar's billionaire lifestyle and the controversies that come with it.
I'm trying to get myself together here because God been good to me, you understand?
At the center of it all was his philosophy and mindset. It made him rich and allowed him to afford the finer things in life, but it was far from convention. Here's a look into the billionaire life of Creflo Dollar. Early life. Creflo Augustus Dollar Jr. was born on January 28, 1962 in College Park, Georgia, a place where community ties were strong and faith was the pillar of everyday life. His father, Creflo Augustus Dollar Sr., worked as a police officer. His mother, Emma Dollar, was a housewife who worked tirelessly to ensure stability at home. Together, they fostered a disciplined household centered on faith, structure, and high expectations. In the Dollar home, Sundays were sacred, and prayer was a way of life. Church wasn't optional, it was essential. The family believed in the power of faith, and young Creflo grew up surrounded by the rhythmic sounds of gospel hymns and the commanding presence of pastors delivering sermons that spoke of destiny, purpose, and divine calling. These early years shaped him in ways he couldn't yet understand. Despite the deeply religious environment, Creflo was in many ways a regular kid. He had big dreams, but they weren't in the pulpit. They were on the football field. At Lakeshore High School, he wasn't just another student. He was an athlete with a vision of making it big. Football was his passion, and for a time it seemed like his future was set. He imagined himself in stadiums under the bright lights, hearing the roar of the crowd. But fate has a way of rewriting even the most well-drawn plans. After high school, Creflo took the next step in his education, enrolling at West Georgia College in Carrollton. It was supposed to be the bridge between his teenage dreams and the reality of adulthood. But something happened, something that would shift the entire trajectory of his life. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 99% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. Thank you so much. Now back to the video. During Creflo's freshman year, he attended a Bible study session on the Georgia Tech campus in Atlanta. It seemed like any other gathering, just another meeting among believers. But that night, something clicked. Something stirred deep inside him. As he listened to the word being preached, a realization washed over him. Powerful, undeniable. This wasn't just about faith anymore. This was about purpose. Right there, in that unassuming moment, Creflo made a decision that would alter everything. He surrendered his life to Christ. The change was immediate. Football, once his greatest ambition, began to fade into the background. He felt pulled in a different direction, one he hadn't expected but couldn't ignore. He started leading small Bible study sessions in his dorm room, at first just for himself and a few curious students. But word spread. More people showed up. What started as a handful of eager listeners soon became full gatherings, as students found themselves drawn to the way he spoke, the conviction in his voice, and the sense of purpose that radiated from him. He was no longer just Creflo Dollar, the football player. He was Creflo Dollar, the leader, the teacher, the man with a calling. And as his influence grew, so did the vision, one that would soon outgrow any dorm room, any classroom, and even the walls of any single church. Something much bigger was on the horizon. How he got into ministry. Creflo felt a profound pull to create a space where faith wasn't just preached but lived out loud, a place where teachings were practical, relatable, and transformative. With this burning passion, he took a bold step. Gathering a small group of 8 believers, they didn't start in a grand cathedral but in the humble cafeteria of Kathleen Mitchell Elementary School in College Park, Georgia. It was modest, yes, but the energy? Electric. From those early days, Creflo's vision was clear: to teach the Word of God with such simplicity and understanding that it could be woven seamlessly into everyday life. He wasn't about lofty sermons that went over heads. He was about real talk for real people, aiming to transform lives from the inside out. As the message resonated, that tiny group began to grow. The cafeteria gatherings expanded, leading to the establishment of World Changers Church International. The mission? To turn everyday folks into world changers, individuals equipped to impact their circles and beyond, making indelible marks on the world. Creflo's journey from a small school cafeteria to leading a global ministry is a testament to what can happen when one listens to that inner calling. It's about starting where you are, with what you have, and watching as faith and dedication turn a simple vision into a worldwide movement. The Creflo Dollar family. Creflo Dollar's family life is just as central to his story as his ministry. He met his wife Taffy back in college, and the two have been inseparable ever since. They tied the knot in 1988, and she's been right there with him, not just as his partner in life, but also in faith. Taffy isn't just the pastor's wife. She co-pastors World Changers Church International and plays a huge role in their ministry. She's also an author, a speaker, and even runs her own entertainment company, Arrow Global Entertainment. On top of that, she founded Radical Women's Ministry, which focuses on empowering women and building community. In short, she's a powerhouse in her own right. Together, Creflo and Taffy have 5 kids, some biological, some adopted, but they've always been one big, close-knit family. Their adopted son, Gregory, has an especially inspiring story. Before joining the family, he went through some really dark times, struggling with addiction and mental health battles. But after being taken in by Creflo and Taffy, his life took a completely different path. He turned things around, eventually becoming the media director for his father's ministry and even writing a book about his experiences called Love in the Darkness: My Life as Creflo Dollar's Son. On top of that, he's a single dad raising 3 kids of his own. Then there's Jeremy, their other adopted son, and their 3 biological daughters, Jordan, Alexandria, and Lauren. Jordan has made a name for herself in music, often performing in church while the rest of the family stays deeply involved in their parents' ministry. At the end of the day, Creflo and Taffy have built more than just a mega ministry. They've built a family that's just as much about faith as it is about love and support. Whether it's through church, business, or music, every single one of them has found a way to carry that mission forward. How he started getting rich. In the mid-1980s, a transformative movement began to ripple through American Christianity, the rise of the prosperity gospel. This doctrine preached that unwavering faith and generous donations could unlock divine blessings of wealth and success. Among its most ardent proponents was a young pastor from Georgia, Creflo Dollar. In 1986, with a vision and a handful of followers, Dollar founded the World Changers Ministries Christian Center. Their first gathering took place in the modest cafeteria of Kathleen Mitchell Elementary School in College Park, Georgia, drawing just 8 attendees. But this small gathering wasn't too small for Creflo Dollar. He still managed to solicit each of them to give $100. To him, it symbolized a starting point. From these humble beginnings, Dollar's charisma and compelling message began to attract a growing congregation, and with his message, he attracted the masses.
$1 million a year ministry, one that sells books, DVDs, and CDs by the millions.
As the church expanded, so did its ambitions. The congregation moved from the school cafeteria to a modest chapel, and Dollar introduced a weekly radio broadcast to reach a broader audience. But he wasn't just building a church, he was building a brand. By 1995, the ministry had outgrown its previous spaces and inaugurated the World Dome, an impressive 8,500-seat sanctuary constructed at a cost of nearly $20 million, remarkably without any bank financing. This milestone was a testament to the congregation's generosity and Dollar's persuasive teachings on giving and prosperity. Central to Dollar's message was the belief that material wealth was a sign of divine favor. He taught that through faith and consistent tithing, believers could access God's promises of abundance. This resonated with many, leading to a surge in donations and the church's rapid financial growth. By 2007, World Changers Church International reported approximately 30,000 members and annual revenues of $70 million. Dollar's influence wasn't confined to the pulpit. he ventured into media, publishing Change magazine, a quarterly international publication boasting nearly 100,000 subscribers, and The Max, a bi-monthly newsletter aimed at ministers and ministry leaders. These platforms amplified his teachings and extended his reach beyond the church walls. He also launched the Changing Your World television program, delivering his dynamic teachings on faith and prosperity to viewers across the United States and internationally. This daily broadcast, known for its practical approach to the Bible, has become a cornerstone of his ministry, reaching nearly 1 billion homes worldwide. In 2004, recognizing the demand for his message in other regions, Dollar and his wife, Taffy, established a satellite church in New York City. Initially, the World Changers Church New York, WCCNY, held services at various premier venues, including Madison Square Garden and Radio City Music Hall, accommodating a growing congregation that soon numbered over 6,000 members. With each passing year, the ministry grew larger, and so did Dollar's wealth. He was no longer just a preacher. He was a movement, a brand, a force that millions of followers believed had cracked the divine code to success. What started in a school cafeteria had transformed into a multi-million-dollar empire, and Creflo Dollar was at the helm, steering it toward even greater heights. What he spends his money on. If there's one thing Creflo Dollar doesn't believe in, it's limits. Not in faith, not in lifestyle, and certainly not in spending. The man preaches abundance, and if his possessions are anything to go by, he's living proof of it. His world isn't just comfortable, it's dripping in luxury, built on a belief that prosperity isn't just a blessing, it's a right. And for Dollar, living modestly doesn't seem to be part of the divine plan. In 2015, Dollar faced public scrutiny when he launched a campaign to raise funds for a $65 million Gulfstream G650 private jet. Addressing his congregation, he defended the necessity of the aircraft, stating that his extensive ministry commitments required efficient travel means. He argued that relying on commercial airlines would hinder his ability to fulfill his global mission, emphasizing that the private jet was essential for transporting staff and resources to various locations. Despite the controversy, Dollar remained resolute, highlighting his belief in dreaming big and trusting in divine provision. Critics balked at the audacity, but for Dollar it was never about luxury, it was about necessity. A $65 million necessity capable of breaking the sound barrier while offering the kind of comfort that makes five-star hotels look average. This wasn't just a plane, it was a testament to his philosophy, a declaration that a man of God shouldn't just walk in abundance, he should soar in it. But where do you land a $65 million jet when the world is your runway? Well, when you own a 17,000 square foot mansion sitting on nearly 200 acres in Fayette County, Georgia. Space isn't an issue. This estate isn't just a house. It's a fortress of wealth, the kind of place where luxury meets seclusion, where the gates don't just keep people out. They remind them of the difference between your world and theirs. And if Georgia ever feels too small, there's always New York. In 2006, Dollar dropped $2.5 million on a high-rise apartment in Manhattan, the kind of place where the city skyline becomes part of your living room. But just like faith, investments need to grow. By 2012, he sold it for $3.75 million, turning a penthouse view into profit. It wasn't just a real estate flip. It was another example of prosperity in action, proof that the blessings kept rolling in. Of course, a man like Dollar doesn't just live large, he rolls large too. Forget modest sedans or even luxury SUVs. We're talking about a Rolls-Royce Phantom drophead coupe, a car so effortlessly extravagant that even royalty takes a second look. Handcrafted interiors, a whisper-quiet engine, and a price tag that ensures it's parked next to the elite. But for Dollar, it's not about indulgence, it's about setting an example. If prosperity is proof of divine favor, then why settle for anything less than the best? Speaking of settling, Creflo Dollar has had to face public scrutiny over some of his lavish expenditure and more. While these cases have been settled, they have changed how the public views him for good. Controversies and cases. Creflo Dollar has seen his share of controversies, particularly concerning financial transparency and ethical practices. Two notable incidents stand out. his financial relationship with boxing legend Evander Holyfield, and a high-profile Senate investigation into his ministry's finances. But beyond the money, Dollar's reputation took a hit when he found himself at the center of a domestic abuse case that made headlines across the nation. In 2007, Senator Chuck Grassley, then ranking member of the Senate Finance Committee, initiated an inquiry into the financial practices of 6 prominent televangelists, including Creflo Dollar. The investigation aimed to determine whether these ministries misused their tax-exempt status for personal enrichment. Grassley requested detailed financial records to assess if donations were being diverted for lavish lifestyles, citing concerns over generous salaries and housing allowances and amenities such as private jets and Rolls-Royces. Dollar, however, declined to provide the requested information, arguing that only the Internal Revenue Service, IRS, had the authority to examine religious organizations' finances, not the Senate committee. His defiance wasn't just a legal stance, it was a declaration of independence, reinforcing the idea that he answered to a higher power, not the government. This resistance to transparency drew criticism and raised questions about accountability within such ministries, with many wondering just how deep the well of wealth truly ran. But that wouldn't be the first time he had eyebrows raised about his finances and lavish lifestyle. In the late 1990s, Evander Holyfield, the renowned heavyweight boxing champion, was embroiled in a contentious divorce that brought his financial dealings under intense scrutiny. Central to the controversy were substantial donations he made to Creflo Dollar's World Changers Ministries. Reports suggest that Holyfield contributed over $20 million to Dollar's church, a staggering sum that raised eyebrows given Holyfield's simultaneous financial troubles, including the foreclosure of his mansion. During the divorce proceedings, Holyfield's ex-wife's attorney, John Mayui, described the financial arrangement between Holyfield and Dollar as very suspicious. When subpoenaed to disclose the exact amounts received, Dollar refused, leading to contempt charges. His silence only fueled speculation. Was this just a generous believer supporting his faith, or was there something more beneath the surface? But not all the trouble that Creflo Dollar has gotten himself involved in has had to do with money. In the early hours of June 8, 2012, tranquility shattered within the upscale confines of Fayette County, Georgia. Renowned televangelist Creflo Dollar, founder of World Changers Church International, found himself at the center of a storm that would send shockwaves through his congregation and beyond. Around 1 a.m., a distress call pierced the calm, summoning Fayette County Sheriff's deputies to Dollar's residence. The caller, his 15-year-old daughter. Her accusation, a violent altercation with her father. According to the incident report, the teenager alleged that a dispute over attending a party escalated dramatically. She claimed that Dollar, in a fit of anger, had choked her, thrown her to the ground, and struck her with his shoe. These were not light allegations, especially against a man whose public persona was built on messages of faith and family values. The deputy's report further detailed that Dollar's older daughter corroborated her sister's account, adding weight to the claims. In contrast, Dollar presented a different narrative. He admitted to disciplining his daughter but denied any form of abuse, describing the incident as a necessary parental action blown out of proportion. The media swiftly descended upon the story, casting a glaring spotlight on Dollar. Headlines blared about the arrest of the megachurch pastor, and debates ignited over the boundaries of parental discipline versus abuse. In his first sermon following the incident, Dollar stood before his congregation, steadfastly denying the allegations. He portrayed himself as a victim of sensationalism, asserting that the media had exaggerated the events to undermine his ministry. His flock responded with a standing ovation, a testament to their unwavering support, demonstrating how deep their loyalty ran. However, the plot thickened when details of the 911 call emerged. In the recording, Dollar's daughter can be heard telling the dispatcher that this was not an isolated incident, suggesting a pattern of behavior. This revelation added complexity to the narrative, challenging the image of a one-time misunderstanding and opening up a deeper conversation about what truly went on behind closed doors. As the legal process unfolded, Dollar faced charges of simple battery and cruelty to children. Yet, by January 2013, the charges were dismissed after he completed an anger management program. a resolution that left many questions unanswered. Some saw it as justice served, while others saw it as another example of power shielding the powerful. This episode cast a long shadow over Dollar's ministry, prompting discussions about the pressures of public life, the challenges of parenting, and the fine line between discipline and abuse. It also underscored the potent influence of media in shaping public perception, especially when a prominent figure's private life becomes front-page news. In the aftermath, while Dollar continued his ministerial work, the incident remained a poignant reminder of the vulnerabilities inherent in the lives of public figures and the enduring impact of personal controversies on public legacies. Yet, through it all, Dollar has maintained his stance, unapologetic, undeterred, and unshaken in his belief that he is walking the path God has set before him, no matter how turbulent that path may become. His current situation. With all the controversies he has been in, he's still preaching after over 4 decades, but he has done his fair share of trying to keep himself accountable to his church members. That is, if you count his statement and admission to twisting the gospel. In a surprising turn in 2022, he publicly retracted his long-standing teachings on tithing. For decades, he had advocated that congregants should donate 10% of their income to the church as a divine mandate. However, he confessed that his previous teachings were erroneous, stating, "I want to start off by saying to you that I'm still growing, and that the teachings that I've shared in times past on the subject of tithing were not correct." He went further, urging his followers to discard any materials where he had taught about tithing, signaling a significant shift in his theological stance. This admission sent ripples through the Christian community, prompting discussions about the implications of such a reversal from a figure who had long been a proponent of prosperity theology. While some praised his humility and willingness to correct past mistakes, others questioned the motivations and the potential impact on his ministry's financial foundation. There you have it, an insight into the billionaire life of Creflo Dollar. What aspect about his life shocked you the most or left you stunned? Let us know in the comments section. Check out this next video where we reveal how popular Nigerian pastor David Oyedepo spends his millions.